All right, page 256. We're finding the area between the curve and the x-axis. So what we're going to do is basically what we were just doing before. We're going to find the integral. We're going to find a function. We're going to plug in the limits. In this first one, the limits will be 5 and 0. That's where the x-intercepts are. So if I go ahead and write this, I go ahead and multiply these together. I get x squared minus 5x. These are my limits, 5 and 0. That's where the area's boundaries are. And so now all I got to do is do an integration. This is not a big deal. We're going to have x to the third, so we're going to multiply by 1/3. And then it's going to be -5. It's going to be x to the second, so we're going to multiply by 1/2. So this is going to be 1/3 x to the third minus 2.5 x squared. And all we've got to do now is plug in our limits of 5 and 0 and then subtract them. So when we substitute in those two values for our limits, 5 and 0, we're going to get 20 and 5/6. And then the second one is going to be 0. So when we subtract -20 and 5/6 from 0, we're going to get -20 and 5/6. And keep in mind, when we get an area underneath the x-axis, we expect it to be negative. All right, so when we've got this next one here, well, we've got to get this into powers, and then we're going to integrate it. We're going to use the boundaries of 4 and 0. They create the boundaries of our area, and then all we've got to do is integration here. We're going to put the 4 and then leave a gap and then write x, and then it'll be plus 1, so that'll be 3/2. So the reciprocal will be 2/3, and then minus 2, and then we'll leave a gap. It'll be x squared, so then we'll reciprocal 1/2. All we got to do now is multiply it. So we're going to get 8/3 x to the 3/2 minus x squared. And then that's our function. And all we've got to do is substitute in our boundaries, our limits of 4 and 0, and then subtract them. So when we substitute 4 in for the first one, we should get 16/3. And then when we put in a 0 for the second one, we should get 0. And when we subtract them, we're going to get 16/3 minus 0 is going to be 16/3. Now you need to be careful. These last two, when we have a limit of 0, it ended up being 0, but that won't always be the case. So you make sure you actually substitute it in and find out what it comes out to be. All right, I hope that helped. Thanks for watching.